or of many worlds and put it together.
I wish you could. Yeah, there's this one saying that I love. He who hasn't traveled thinks his mom is the world's best cook. You know?
Yes.
And so if you're from Trinidad, you just swear that
I still think my mom is the best cook.
okay, of course.
Yes,
Yeah.
My team got my back like they behind me. My girl got my back, but she beside me. They say, ooh, he back, but I did not leave. I keep my respect like it's an ID.
Cheers.
My team got my back like
Richard,
they behind me.
welcome to On The Beat podcast. What's going on, bro?
Well, I'm here in Nigeria with you after celebrating your sister's wedding.
Yeah,
Really happy for you and your family.
Thank you, bro. Thank you, bro. So we are in a special episode with On The Beat podcast, and we are here with Richard, who have traveled to many countries. So therefore, it's only fitting to talk about how does culture impact young people, right? So Richard, name some of the countries that you travel with.
So this trip was my 51st country. So I'm 45 years old.
Wait, just now.
Yeah.
Rewind that a little. Let me hear. This trip was your what?
51st country.
Wow.
And some countries I've been to multiple times. My first trip was 1998 to Uganda.
Yeah.
And then pretty much each year I would take one or two trips, either based on my job or based on like some kind of short-term missions trip I was doing. So earlier this year I went to Jamaica. That was number 50. Too bad it wasn't Trinidad and Tobago.
He was close to...
I was really close. And then God willing, I'll make it to South Korea in September. And then a cruise will take me to 3 or 4 more in October.
Give this man a clap. I understand he's doing a lot of work. So what do you do? Give us just a small little snippet of what you do in traveling. Why do you travel?
So in the beginning, it was more like doing short-term mission trips for my school.
Yeah.
So we would do things that were things that the people wanted us to do. So it wasn't like we came in and said, we're going to do this, whether you like it or not.
Yes.
They would ask us to do some things, some evangelistic, some manual labor type things.
Yes.
But always things that were based on building relationships, because we didn't want to be the type of team that came in and did projects and didn't engage the people.
That's right.
So then I started leading teams, and now it's more like just different stuff. Like last year we did a 6-month sabbatical. That's where I got my tattoo. And then on that sabbatical I had a chance to go to Vietnam, Cambodia, Malaysia, Myanmar. And some of those were just visa runs and some of them were just curiosities.
Yeah. So based on all these things, because you called some countries there, I'm curious of the Asian continent. How is the culture across there? Like Vietnam and all those countries you just highlighted just now.
Yeah, so like it's interesting because like Thailand, people kind of, they don't like raise their voice and like yell. It's not very like you're respectful. Even when you get angry, you don't see people like that's a no-no to like raise your voice and to have a temper.
Yeah.
And like somebody messes up your bill or your food, you don't just like let them have it like you might do in America.
Right.
And so more like shame, honor, and like respect, and sometimes in quietness.
Yes.
Not all countries are like that, obviously. But yeah, there's a lot of Buddhism. So whatever principles you see in Buddhism kind of permeate the culture.
Yes. Yeah. So how does culture, based on the topic, how does culture impact young people? Because you have been in the Western Hemisphere and the Eastern Hemisphere. How does culture causes young people for their perspective to be changed, you understand, based on like how you now highlighted Buddhism actually gives out that culture, you know, of how people will act.
Yeah, so I think just by the sheer volume of television and social media, like people are exposed to so many different ideas and cultures, the things people eat, the things people wear, the way people dance. Like kids are inundated by it all the time, but most of the time it's void of friendship. right? It's like you're an observer into something that's out there that you haven't experienced for yourself. You haven't felt it, tasted it, touched it yourself.
Yes.
And I think one of the great things is that young people are exposed to a lot of culture. The bad thing is you can come to a lot of false conclusions when you haven't met a person or had an encounter with that culture. So give you an example. In preparing to go to Nigeria, I don't know about you, but I read a whole lot of stuff about culture that made me nervous. I was like, man, I need to like have guards around me. I need to have like scam protection around me.
And watch me, when you arrive in Nigeria, you saw guards, you saw protection. It's like, what's going on here? You know?
Right. So I was prepared for a kind of a bad experience.
Right.
And the first thing I got was, how was your flight? Welcome to Nigeria. We're so glad you're here.
So just like what you just highlighted there, is that not every time what we read according to the media or online doesn't really highlight what is the actual culture in the country.
No, and I mean, like you heard today when we had dinner, over 500 languages spoken here. So to say Nigeria is fill in the blank, is only like the reality of a particular tribe or particular language. And so I think the best way to do that is to make friends. I have the wonderful privilege, one of the greatest gifts in my life is friendships from all, I mean, I count you among them, right? To have your sister and you. I've never been to Trinidad and Tobago, but there's certain things I know about sorrel, you know, about Christmas music that you guys listen to. And so when somebody says Trinidad and Tobago is like this, then I have to compare it to what you guys are. And I can say, you know, that's not my experience.
Exactly.
No, that's no.
True.
So I think, so again, the great strength is that the younger generations have more encounters. They've seen more movies. They've seen more podcasts. But it doesn't equate real life experience. So I would say take what you hear with a grain of salt and try to make real friends.
Yeah, because the current culture relies on media so much, and the lack of friendship, as you highlight. Yes, true, they would group according to like-mindedness. However, no matter what the group is, they still rely on media to define who they are.
Exactly.
Right? And only in certain countries you would see a more greater effort where the elders or the leaders will partake or embark their wisdom upon the younger generation rather than through the media, you understand? So therefore, in which countries have you seen that you have visited and you think to yourself, I don't mind raising my children here?
That is a good question. It gets harder and harder. You know, I think America for me is very difficult. I don't want to run from America, but America is difficult because our greatest strength is individual rights, but there are 300 plus million people. So if each person has their own individual truth and individual view of reality, life gets very complicated, and we see that happening in so many different areas. So I would prefer not to raise my kids in America. I do like, I like Ethiopia. I mean, it has some strengths. I wish I could combine cultures. You know, it's almost like, you remember that cartoon Voltron? Defenders of the Universe. I want to combine a red and a green and a blue and a yellow and a black all together and make one superpower. Because every culture struggles in certain things. But I think one of the other realities that, I mean, and you know this, is that AI is real. And so artificial intelligence will lean towards what you enjoy, what you like, what you're...
As an individual, that is...
Right, even as it relates to culture, right? So I have friends who are Democrats, friends who are Republicans in America, but if my leaning is toward Democrat, then all the things that come across my feed will fuel my beliefs and will make the other seem like they're evil or, you know, stupid.
And there's another thing is that in Trinidad, young people will see how, according to how they grew up, they will believe that whatever happened to them in Trinidad, this is their truth. You understand? And same thing with US, same thing with Australia and China and those type of places. They will think that their culture is the way of life.
Yeah.
And it's not until they visit other cultures, then they realize, wait, I thought eating pork in Trinidad is the truth, you know? It's the way of life.
Yeah.
But when I go to
Saudi Arabia,
it's not the truth. It's like, what madness is this? You understand? You should not be doing these things, right?
Yeah.
So culture, especially cross culture, just like how highlighted, if we could take the best of both worlds, or of many worlds, and put it together.
I wish you could. Yeah, there's this one saying that I love. He who hasn't traveled thinks his mom is the world's best cook. You know?
Yes.
And so if you're from Trinidad, you just swear that
I still think my mom is the best cook.
Okay, of course.
Cheers,
yeah,
mom.
of course.
Cheers, mom.
So, you know, if you've never traveled, then curry goat and roti is the best thing ever. Now,
That's
maybe
right.
it is. Maybe it is, right?
Maybe.
But have you ever been to Hong Kong? Have you ever been to Thailand? Have you ever been to Ethiopia? Have you ever been to Uzbekistan?
Yeah.
And it's okay to have preferences, but I think it's also good to have an openness to explore and experience. Everyone's not wired like me, but I like to try new foods. I've tried scorpion, I've had guinea pig, I've had cow heart, I've had different things just because I like to expose myself to new things so that I can like fit it into this rubric of like what is good and what is this and what is that, and you know, it's like you get to experience the fullness of culture. So one of the obvious things that someone who's watching might think is, well, that's really easier for you to say because you have American backers to pay for your trips. You have a passport, right? And so if I'm somebody watching this, I'm a youth watching this, I don't have a passport, I don't have disposable income to send me to London or whatever, then what can I do? And that's a great question. I would say in your own community, look for variety. Look for things that are not the food you always eat or the people you always hang out with, and sit down and form meaningful friendships and have good conversations. And you realize that every person that voted for Donald Trump is not evil. Now, I didn't vote for Donald Trump, but I have very good, intelligent, godly friends that voted for Trump. You know, but unless you make friendships with the other, you will always reduce people to like the lowest that you can in your mind. And so make different kinds of friends, try different kinds of foods. If you do use social media, use it responsibly and try to listen to a number of different sources. And I think that's a great place to start.
And then too, I think it's great to be open-minded, but there's a fine line when you're looking to be open-minded, because you have to have a foundation for yourself too. You have to know who you are. It's best for you to know who you are before you start exploring more options. Well, not options, but more variety of what the human race or the world has to offer. And I'm not disputing that we should not go and look at the world, you know, or partake of the world. I know of some people who have never left my country or never even left one of the islands in my country. They never even reach the other island of the country. You understand? I know of people like that, and they don't even care to, because they think, I'm good here, I'm comfortable, this is all I need to know. This is all the world I need to know. But people, being open-minded and experiencing the world is equally good as also having that foundation. I think the both could coexist, right? And you don't have to change when you travel, meaning your personality have to change, who you are have to change. You don't have to turn out Chinese because you're going into China, right? You could still be American or Trini, you know, when you reach in China, because other people actually embrace your culture as well, right? And as a young person, I think young people need to be open-minded, and yet they need to be grounded.
Yeah, I agree. Open-minded, and also I appreciate your admonition. You know, there's this thing that I heard that God is above culture, but He works through it, right?
Right.
And some aspects of culture God judges and says this is bad, like FGM, you know, female genital mutilation is bad. It doesn't matter what religion you are, or it's bad. It's been proven harms a lot of people. And so when you're learning about that, you wouldn't say, oh, this is great, let's embrace this aspect of culture, because there are aspects of culture that are just not good. God condemns them. There are aspects that God endorses and says, that's great. I think it's great that this culture has dads that are involved and spend a lot of time with their kids. I think that's amazing. And there are other aspects in which God is silent. He doesn't say anything. And we just, you know, enjoy those, experience those. And so, yeah, we have to be discerning as we embrace culture, because everything is not good.
Yes. And there are a few good things out there that you should actually experience. Culture is good, and youths who are in culture, embrace your own culture and also other cultures, but know what is good and what is not. So, Richard, toast again.
Yes. Cheers.
Thank you for being on the podcast, sir. On the Beat Podcast. We'll see you soon. Thank you for watching this special episode from Nigeria.